Jasmine Washington stood in the doorway of Miami's most exclusive oceanfront hotel, her burgundy dress catching the golden light of crystal chandeliers. Every head turned. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Even the string quartet seemed to miss a note. Marcus Chin's champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. This couldn't be the same woman he'd passed countless times in the hallways of his building without a second glance. The cleaning woman his subordinate had invited as a cruel joke. But those eyes, intelligent, defiant, unflinching, were unmistakable. She didn't belong here. Everyone in this room knew it. The gathered mafia bosses, corrupt officials, and underground elite could smell an outsider. Yet, she walked forward with her chin high, refusing to shrink under their stares. Someone laughed, a sharp mocking sound that cut through the silence. Marcus's jaw tightened, his hand moved to his side where he always kept a blade. Because in that moment, watching Jasmine Washington stand alone against a room full of wolves, something inside him shifted. Something dangerous. Something he couldn't take back. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to be nothing. But now, looking at her, Marcus realized he'd made a terrible mistake. She was everything. 3 weeks earlier, Jasmine Washington pushed her cleaning cart through the pristine marble lobby of the Apex Tower in downtown Miami. At 2 a.m., the 50-story building belonged to her and the other night shift workers. The invisible army that kept the wealthy world running while everyone else slept. She was tired, bone deep, soul-way tired. The kind that came from working 2 jobs, barely sleeping, and still coming up short every month. But Jasmine had learned long ago that survival didn't care about exhaustion. Floor 48, she muttered to herself, checking her assignment sheet. The executive suite, always the messiest despite being used the least. The elevator hummed as it climbed. Jasmine caught her reflection in the polished brass doors, 28 years old, with rich brown skin that glowed even under fluorescent lights and natural hair pulled back into a practical bun. Her grandmother used to say she had presence, that intangible quality that made people look twice. Not that anyone looked at her here. To them, she was furniture, part of the background. The 48th floor was dark, except for one office at the end of the hall. Lights spilled from under the door, and Jasmine heard voices, sharp, tense, speaking in rapid Korean. She'd learned to recognize the language over the past 6 months. The building's owner was Korean, though she'd never seen him, just heard whispers, warnings from other workers to stay invisible, keep quiet, never asked questions. Jasmine started with the cubicles, working efficiently. She perfected the art of being thorough while making no sound. It was a survival skill in places like this. The office door opened suddenly. A man emerged, young, arrogant, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He barely glanced at her. "You cleaning woman." His English was accented but clear. "Come here." Jasmine's stomach tightened. Nothing good ever came from being singled out. But she approached, keeping her expression neutral. "Yes, sir." He looked her up and down with something that made her skin crawl. Not desire, contempt, like she was something amusing he discovered. "What's your name?" "Jasmine Washington." He smiled. It wasn't kind. Very American. "You work here every night." He pulled out a business card, gold embossed and heavy. "There's an event 3 weeks from now. The Oceanic Grand Hotel. You're invited." Jasmine stared at the card. This had to be a joke. Women like her didn't get invited to events at 5-star hotels. "I don't understand." "You don't need to understand. Just show up. 8 p.m. formal attire." His smile widened. "Consider it a reward for your hard work." He walked away before she could respond, leaving Jasmine standing in the empty hallway with a business card that felt like a trap in her hand. Behind her, she didn't notice the second man who'd emerged from the office. Marcus Chin stood in the shadows, watching the entire exchange with cold, calculating eyes. He'd heard his subordinate cruel plan, heard the mocking tone, seen the smirk, and he'd said nothing. Because in his world, cruelty was currency, weakness was death, and caring about a cleaning woman, any woman, was the fastest way to lose respect and power. But even as he returned to his office, Marcus found himself remembering the woman's face. The way she'd stood straight despite her obvious confusion, the dignity in her posture, even while wearing a cleaning uniform. Pathetic, he muttered to himself, getting soft over a woman he'd never even properly seen. He had an empire to run, enemies to crush, a reputation that kept men twice his age afraid to meet his eyes. He didn't have time for distractions. 3 weeks later, Jasmine stood outside her tiny apartment in Little Haiti, staring at her reflection in the cracked mirror. The dress had cost her 2 weeks of grocery money from her second job, burgundy silk, that hugged her curves and fell to her ankles. Simple, but elegant. Her best friend, Tanya, had done her hair, natural curls cascading over her shoulders, minimal makeup that let her natural beauty shine through. "Girl, you look like royalty," Tanya breathed. "But are you sure about this? Something feels off." Jasmine had the same feeling. The invitation made no sense. But she'd learned long ago that opportunities, even strange ones, didn't come often for women like her. If there was even a chance this could lead to something better, she had to take it. "I'll be fine," she said with more confidence than she felt. "It's just one night." The Uber ride to the Oceanic Grand Hotel felt like crossing into another dimension. From her neighborhood of faded buildings and corner stores to the gleaming waterfront, where luxury yachts bobbed in the marina and palm trees swayed in the ocean breeze, Jasmine's hands trembled slightly as she approached the entrance. A doorman in white gloves opened the massive doors without question, and she stepped into a world of marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the kind of wealth she'd only seen in movies. "May I see your invitation?" A woman in a crisp black suit appeared beside her. Jasmine handed over the gold-embossed card. The woman's eyebrows rose slightly. Surprise or judgment? Jasmine couldn't tell, but she gestured toward the grand ballroom. "The gala is through those doors. Enjoy your evening." Jasmine took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and walked forward. The ballroom doors opened, and the world stopped. Every eye in the room turned toward her. Jasmine felt the weight of their stares like physical pressure against her skin. The conversations didn't just pause. They died completely. Even the string quartet seemed to falter. For a moment, panic clawed at her throat. This was a mistake. Whatever joke they were playing, she'd walked right into it. But Jasmine Washington hadn't survived 28 years by shrinking when people expected her to break. She lifted her chin and walked forward, each step deliberate and proud. The room was filled with power. She could feel it radiating from the men in expensive suits, the women dripping in diamonds. This wasn't just wealth. This was something darker, more dangerous. Well, the man who'd given her the invitation appeared at her elbow, that same cruel smile on his face. "You actually came. I didn't think you'd have the nerve." "Why wouldn't I?" Jasmine kept her voice steady. "You invited me." "I did, didn't I?" He gestured around the room. "What do you think? Is this everything you dreamed about being here with your betters?" The insult was clear. Several people nearby laughed. Jasmine felt heat rise in her cheeks, but she refused to look away. "I think," she said quietly, "that money and manners don't always come together." The laughter stopped. The man's face darkened. "You need to learn your place," Mr. A voice cut through the tension like a blade. Deep, controlled, carrying absolute authority. "You're needed elsewhere." The man Vincent Park went rigid. "Sir, I was just now." Vincent Park bowed slightly and disappeared into the crowd. Jasmine turned toward the voice and found herself looking up at the most striking man she'd ever seen. Marcus Chun was tall for a Korean man, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to see everything. His black suit was perfectly tailored, and he moved with the kind of confidence that came from never being questioned. There was something about him, an intensity that made her breath catch. "Miss Washington." He said her name like he'd known it all along. "I apologize for Mr. Vincent Park's behavior. He sometimes forgets himself. You know my name. I know everything that happens in my building." His eyes traveled over her face, and Jasmine felt exposed. "Seen, though I must admit, I never truly looked before tonight. Your building, the Apex Tower, where you work, you're very thorough, by the way. The executive floor is always spotless." Jasmine's mind raced. This man owned the building, which meant he was the one people whispered about the dangerous one. "Thank you for the compliment," she said carefully, "though I'm still not sure why I was invited here." Something flickered across Marcus's face. Regret maybe, or anger. Vincent Park thought it would be amusing. He heard me complaining about incompetent associates and decided to make a joke. Invite the cleaning woman to see her out of place. The honesty surprised her. "And you allowed it." He held her gaze. "I'm not a good man, Miss Washington. I don't pretend to be." "Then why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know." He paused. And because I'm finding that I dislike the idea of you being the punchline to someone else's joke. Before Jasmine could respond, a commotion erupted near the entrance. Men in dark suits were shouting in Korean, hands moving to concealed weapons. The crowd shifted nervously. Marcus's entire demeanor changed. The man who'd been almost apologetic vanished, replaced by something cold and lethal. "Stay here," he commanded, already moving toward the disturbance. But Jasmine saw what he didn't. A man circling around the chaos, eyes fixed on Marcus's back, hand reaching into his jacket. She didn't think, just acted. "Behind you." Her voice cut through the noise. Marcus spun, blade appearing in his hand, as if from nowhere. The attacker froze, suddenly surrounded by Marcus's guards. The would-be assassin was disarmed and dragged away in seconds. The entire incident so smooth that half the guests barely noticed. Marcus turned back to Jasmine, something new in his eyes. Respect, interest, calculation. "You saw him." "I've learned to notice things people want to hide," Jasmine said quietly. "It's how you survive when you're invisible." "You're not invisible." His voice was low, intense. "Not to me, not anymore." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Neither was ready to acknowledge. A woman in a red dress approached, speaking rapidly in Korean. Business matters, important ones, judging by her urgent tone. Marcus's jaw tightened. "I have to handle something, but don't leave, please." The last word seemed difficult for him, like he wasn't used to asking for anything. He disappeared into a private room with several associates. Jasmine stood alone again, suddenly aware of the hostile stares surrounding her. She'd made an impression, but in this world, attention was dangerous. A hand touched her elbow. An older Korean woman with kind eyes and elegant jewelry. "You should come with me, dear. It's not safe for you to stand alone here." "Why are you helping me?" The woman smiled sadly. "Because I remember what it's like to be where you are. Come, let's get you some air." She led Jasmine through glass doors onto a terrace overlooking the ocean. The Miami night was warm, the sound of waves soothing after the tension inside. "My name is Mrs. Chun," the woman said. "I'm Marcus's mother." Jasmine's eyes widened. "Oh, I didn't mean to cause any trouble." "You didn't cause anything. My son did by allowing Vincent Park's cruelty." Mrs. Chun studied her. "He watches you, no? Even before tonight. I've seen him pause outside his office observing you work. He thought no one noticed." "I'm just a cleaning woman." Mrs. Chin's voice was firm. "You're a woman with dignity and courage. Those qualities are rare in our world, rarer than any amount of money or power. Your world is dangerous." Mrs. Chun didn't deny it. "Which is why I'm warning you now. My son is drawn to you. I can see it. But being close to him means being close to death. Men like him don't have normal lives. They don't have safe love. I barely know him. That will change." Mrs. Chun touched her hand gently. "Just remember, when it does that, caring for a man like Marcus means accepting that you might lose him at any moment or that he might have to make choices that break your heart." Before Jasmine could respond, Marcus emerged onto the terrace. His eyes went immediately to his mother, then to Jasmine. "Mother, what are you telling her?" "The truth." Mrs. Chin kissed his cheek. "Be careful, my son." With her heart and your own, she glided back inside, leaving them alone under the stars. Marcus moved to the railing beside Jasmine. For a long moment, neither spoke, just stood together, watching the moonlight on the water. "You should hate me," he finally said, "for allowing you to be humiliated." "I should," Jasmine agreed. "But I'm still trying to figure you out." "What's to figure out?" "I'm a criminal. I run operations that would horrify you. I've done things that keep me awake at night, and yet you told me the truth about why I was invited. You could have let me believe it was real. Would that have been kinder?" Jasmine turned to face him. Lies are never kind, even when people pretend they are. Something in Marcus's expression cracked. Just for a moment, she saw past the cold exterior to the man underneath. Someone tired, lonely, carrying weight no one else could see. "I need to ask you something," he said quietly. "That man you warned me about, how did you see him?" "I told you when you're invisible, you learn to watch everything, notice patterns, see dangers before they arrive. That's a valuable skill. It's a survival skill. I could use someone with those skills." He met her eyes. "Work for me, not as a cleaner, as an observer. You'd see things my own people miss because they expect everyone to fear them. But you see clearly." Jasmine's heart raced. This was dangerous. Everything about him was dangerous. What would this job entail? Being present at meetings, events, watching, reporting what you notice. He paused. I would pay you well. Very well. Enough that you wouldn't need 2 jobs anymore. It was tempting. God, it was tempting. Financial security, a chance to use her mind instead of just her hands. But accepting meant entering his world fully. I need to think about it, she said. Fair enough. He pulled out a card, his personal card this time, not Vincent Park's cruel joke. Call me when you decide. Their fingers brushed as she took the card. The touch was electric, sending heat up her arm. From the way Marcus's eyes darkened, he felt it, too. I should go, Jasmine whispered. I'll have my driver take you home. I can get an Uber. Please, that word again, soft and unexpected. Let me do this one decent thing tonight. She nodded, not trusting her voice. As Marcus's driver pulled up to her apartment building an hour later, Jasmine sat in the back of the luxury car, his card burning a hole in her purse. She'd come tonight expecting humiliation. Instead, she'd found something far more dangerous. Possibility. Jasmine called him 3 days later. She'd spent those days wrestling with herself. The smart choice was to refuse, stay in her safe, struggling world, keep her head down. But safe hadn't gotten her anywhere in 28 years, and there was something about Marcus beyond the danger, beyond the power that made her want to take the risk. Miss Washington, his voice on the phone was warm. I hoped you would call. I have conditions, she said immediately. I won't do anything illegal. I won't lie or deceive people. And if I see something wrong, I'll say so. Silence, then a low laugh. Most people try to tell me what I want to hear. You do the opposite. Is that a problem? No, it's refreshing. She heard him moving, probably pacing. Your conditions are acceptable. When can you start? I need to give notice at my current jobs. Don't I'll cover any financial loss. You start tomorrow. There's a meeting. Business associates from Los Angeles. I need someone watching who won't be noticed. Won't they wonder who I am? I'll introduce you as my personal assistant. It's not entirely untrue. And just like that, Jasmine's life changed. The next evening, she stood in Marcus's private office at the Apex Tower. She'd never been above the 48th floor, but his office occupied the entire 50th. Floor toe-ceiling windows overlooked Miami's glittering skyline. Art that probably cost more than her apartment building hung on the walls. Marcus was at his desk, focused on documents written in Korean. He looked up when she entered, and his expression shifted, softened. You came. I said I would. In my world, words often mean nothing. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket. You're different. Before Jasmine could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. They're early. Are you ready? As I'll ever be. The meeting room was intimidating. Dark wood, leather chairs, a table that could seat 20. 6 men were already seated, speaking in low voices. They fell silent when Marcus entered, Jasmine behind him. Gentlemen, Marcus said smoothly, switching to English. This is Miss Washington, my personal assistant. She'll be observing today. The men's eyes traveled over her with varying degrees of interest and dismissal. Jasmine recognized the look. They saw a pretty face. Nothing more. Let them underestimate her. She took a seat in the corner with a tablet, pretending to take notes while actually watching everything. Body language, micro-expressions, who looked at whom when certain topics arose. The meeting was ostensibly about real estate investments. But underneath the business talk, Jasmine heard something else. Tension, disagreement, and one man, heavy-set with cold eyes, who kept watching Marcus with barely concealed contempt. The waterfront property, the man said. His accent was thicker than the others. My organization has an interest in that area. Then your organization can bid like everyone else. Mr. Marcus's voice was pleasant but firm. That's not how we do business in Los Angeles. We have understandings, territories. This is Miami. Different rules. The temperature in the room dropped. Jasmine tensed, recognizing the shift. This wasn't negotiation anymore. It was a threat. Ryan Sato leaned forward. Perhaps you don't understand how things work in the larger organization. You're young, still proving yourself. It would be wise to show respect to those with more experience. Marcus smiled. It was terrifying. I show respect to those who earn it, not those who demand it because they're afraid of becoming irrelevant. The other men shifted uncomfortably. This was escalating fast. Careful, boy. Ryan Sato growled. You're not as untouchable as you think. Neither are you. The words hung in the air like drawn knives. Jasmine watched the other men. 3 seemed aligned with Ryan Sato. Two looked nervous, uncertain. Then she noticed something. One of Ryan Sato's associates kept glancing at his watch, checking the time. His right hand rested on his lap, fingers twitching. Jasmine's blood ran cold. She recognized that behavior. Anxiety. Anticipation. Something was about to happen. She caught Marcus's eye and tilted her head slightly toward the associate. Marcus's gaze followed, and she saw the moment he understood. "Gentlemen," he said calmly, standing. "Let's take a break. 10 minutes. "We're not finished," Ryan Sato started. "I said, we're taking a break." The command in Marcus's voice left no room for argument. As soon as the men filed out, Marcus pulled out his phone, speaking rapidly in Korean. Within minutes, his security team appeared. "What did you see?" he asked Jasmine urgently. The man in the gray suit, Ryan Sato's associate. He kept checking his watch. Nervous movements like he was waiting for something. Marcus's jaw tightened. He barked orders to his head of security, who nodded and left quickly. "We need to leave," Marcus said, taking Jasmine's arm. "Now what's happening?" "If you're right, and I think you are, they're planning something. An ambush, maybe. Or worse." They were halfway to the elevator when the fire alarm screamed to life. Sprinklers erupted from the ceiling and emergency lights bathed everything in red. "False alarm," Marcus muttered. "Classic distraction. Come on." Instead of the elevator, he led her to a hidden door behind a panel. A private stairwell she'd never known existed. They were descending when they heard footsteps above and below. Heavy boots, many of them. They blocked both exits, Jasmine realized. Marcus's expression was grim. He pulled out his phone, but there was no signal in the stairwell. "Jammer, they're professionals." They were trapped between floors 30 and 40. Armed men closing in from both directions. For the first time since meeting him, Jasmine saw something like fear flicker across Marcus's face. Not for himself, for her. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I brought you into this." "You didn't know?" "I should have. Ryan Sato has been making moves against me for months. Using you as bait," his hands clenched. "If anything happens to you because of me, then we make sure nothing happens." Jasmine looked around the stairwell, mind racing. "Is there another way out? Maintenance access? Anything?" Marcus paused, really looking at her. Where he expected panic, he found determination, strength. "Floor 35, he said. "There's an emergency exit that leads to the parking garage, but we'd have to go through them to reach it." "How many?" "I count maybe 6 above us, for below. So we go up. Better odds." "This isn't a movie, Jasmine. These men are killers. So are you." She met his eyes. "Aren't you?" Something passed between them, understanding acceptance. She wasn't naive about who he was, but she also wasn't running. Marcus nodded slowly, then reached behind his back and pulled out a small handgun. "Have you ever fired one of these?" "Once my father taught me before he died. Safety's here. Point and squeeze if you have to, but stay behind me." They moved up the stairs silently. The footsteps above grew louder. Marcus held up a hand, signaling her to stop. He peered around the corner. 3 on the landing, 2 more down the hall. "Can we get past them?" "We're going to have to try." What happened next was a blur. Marcus moved with lethal precision, disarming the first man before he could shout. The second reached for his weapon, but Marcus was faster. The third managed to fire a shot that went wide, shattering a light fixture. Then the others came running. Jasmine pressed herself against the wall, heart hammering. Marcus fought like someone who'd been doing this his entire life. Efficient, brutal, necessary, but he was outnumbered. One man got past him, heading straight for Jasmine. She raised the gun with shaking hands. "Don't move," she said, voice steadier than she felt. The man laughed. "You won't shoot. Try me." Something in her eyes made him hesitate. That moment of doubt was all Marcus needed. He appeared behind the man, ending the threat. He shouted to Jasmine, "Emergency exit now." She ran, hearing him behind her. They burst through the door into the parking garage, alarm still wailing. Marcus's car was nearby, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than most houses. They threw themselves inside. Marcus peeled out of the garage with tires screaming, weaving through traffic like he was born to it. "Are you hurt?" he asked, eyes still on the road, checking mirrors constantly. "No, you. I'm fine." He took a sharp turn, ensuring they weren't followed. "But we can't go back to the tower. They'll have people watching." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe. I have properties they don't know about." 20 minutes later, They pulled into an underground garage beneath a luxury condo building in Coral Gables. Marcus led her to a penthouse apartment she guessed served as one of many safe houses. Once inside, the adrenaline finally crashed. Jasmine sank onto a couch, hands trembling. Here, Marcus appeared with water. She did, grateful. He sat beside her close enough that she could feel the heat of his body. "You were right," he said quietly. "About the associate. You saved my life. You saved mine, too. I put yours at risk in the first place." His jaw tightened. "This is my world, Jasmine. Violence, danger, betrayal. You saw it tonight. This is what being near me means. I know. You should walk away. I'll make sure you're protected. That Ryan Sato can't touch you. But you should leave while you still can." Jasmine turned to look at him. Really look at him. Beneath the cold exterior, beneath the power and danger, she saw someone profoundly alone. Someone who pushed people away before they could get close enough to hurt him. "What if I don't want to walk away?" she whispered. Marcus's eyes darkened. "Don't say that. You don't know what you're asking for. Then tell me. Help me understand. I'm not a good man, Jasmine. I've killed people, ordered deaths, built an empire on blood and fear." His voice was raw. "I don't deserve someone like you. Someone genuine and good. That's not your choice to make." "Yes, it is. Because caring about you makes you a target. Ryan Sato won't stop. Others will see you as my weakness." The moment he stopped himself, jaw clenched. "The moment you what?" He looked away. "The moment I care, you become leverage, a weapon others can use against me. So you do care." Her heart raced. "I shouldn't, but you do." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. The control he always maintained was fracturing. "From the moment you walked into that gala, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. We're supposed to be nothing. Background noise. But you're not. You're brave and smart, and you see me, the real me. And you're not afraid." "I am afraid," Jasmine admitted, terrified, "but not of you. Of what we might be too afraid to try." The distance between them evaporated. Marcus's hand rose to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheek with surprising gentleness. "If we do this," he said hoarsely, "there's no going back. You'll be mine, and I'll be yours. And that means we face everything together. The danger, the violence, all of it. Then we face it together." He kissed her, then deep and desperate, like a man who'd been starving and finally found sustenance. Jasmine melted into him, years of loneliness evaporating in the heat between them. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. "I won't let anyone hurt you," he promised. "Whatever it takes, I know." But as Jasmine lay in his arms later that night, listening to his steady heartbeat, she couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. Ryan Sato wouldn't forgive this insult, and men like him always sought revenge. The next week was a surreal blend of danger and discovery. Marcus kept Jasmine close, moving between safe houses, while his people hunted for Ryan Sato and his associates. She learned more about his world, the complex network of alliances and rivalries, the codes of honor that governed the Korean Mafia, the weight of leadership he carried. But she also saw the man beneath the boss, the way he made coffee in the morning with meticulous precision, how he spoke to his mother with tenderness despite his cold reputation. The nightmares that woke him at 3 a.m. when he'd slip out of bed and stand at the windows, staring at the city like it might attack at any moment. "Tell me about your family," Jasmine said one evening as they ate Korean food he'd ordered from a restaurant owned by one of his people. Marcus paused, chopsticks halfway to his mouth. "Because I want to know you, all of you." He set down his chopsticks. "My father built this organization from nothing. He came from Korea with nothing but ambition and violence. He taught me that weakness was death, that showing emotion made you a target." "That sounds lonely." It was as he met her eyes. "My father died when I was 20. Heart attack. I had to take over immediately, prove I was strong enough to lead. There was no time to grieve. No space for it. You were just a kid. I was old enough to know that men were watching, waiting for me to fail, to show any sign that I wasn't as ruthless as my father." His voice was distant, remembering. "So I became exactly what they needed me to be, what they feared. But that's not all you are." "How do you know?" "Because you told me the truth about why I was invited to that gala. Because you protected me in that stairwell. Because you're sitting here now letting me see past the armor." Marcus reached across the table, taking her hand. His thumb traced circles on her palm. "You make me want to be different, better. You don't need to be different from me, just honest. Honesty is dangerous in my world. Good thing I'm not afraid of danger. He smiled then, a real smile that transformed his face, making him look younger, less burdened. The moment shattered when his phone buzzed. Marcus glanced at it, and his entire demeanor changed. The softness vanished, replaced by cold calculation. What is it? Jasmine asked, already knowing it was bad. Ryan Sato, he's made a move. Marcus was already standing, pulling on his jacket. He hit one of my operations, killed 2 of my people. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not, Marcus. This is different from the tower. This is war, active violence. His voice was hard. I won't risk you. Think leaving me here alone is safer. What if he knows about this safe house? What if I have guards here? 4 of my best men. They'll protect you. I don't want protection. I want to be with you. Something flickered in his eyes, longing maybe. But he shook his head. Please, Jasmine, stay here. If something happened to you, because I was too selfish to keep you safe. He didn't finish the sentence. He kissed her hard, desperately. Then he was gone. The penthouse felt too large and too silent without him. Jasmine paced, unable to settle. The guards Marcus had left stationed outside and in the lobby, professional, alert, but not enough, she realized an hour later when the power went out. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in dim red. Jasmine's heart hammered. She grabbed her phone, but there was no signal, just like in the tower stairwell. Jammer footsteps in the hallway, too many to be Marcus guards. She ran to the bedroom, locking the door. Then she saw it, a panel in the closet that looked like it might be a safe room. She yanked it open and found a small reinforced space with a phone mounted on the wall, direct line to Marcus. She grabbed it, praying he would answer. Safe house, too. His voice was sharp. Jasmine, they're here. The power's out. I think they killed the guards. She heard him curse in Korean, then his voice deadly calm. Listen to me very carefully. There's a code on the wall. That locks the safe room door. It's reinforced steel. They can't get through. How long until you can get here? 20 minutes, maybe less. I'm sorry. I should never have left you. Just come back to me. I will. I promise. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Jasmine punched in the code. The door sealed with a heavy metallic sound. She was trapped, but safe. But now outside she heard voices shouting in Korean. Then gunfire, brief but violent silence. Then someone tried the bedroom door. Found it locked. More shouting. They knew she was here in this room. Something heavy slammed against the door once. The wood began to splinter. Jasmine pressed herself against the far wall of the safe room, heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. The bedroom door crashed open. Find her, a voice commanded. American accent. Ryan Sato's associate from the meeting. Footsteps moved through the bedroom closer to the closet. There's a panel here. Safe room probably. Can we breach it? Not quickly, but we don't need to. She has to come out eventually. Ryan Sato wants her alive. Leverage against Ba. Jasmine closed her eyes, fighting panic. She wouldn't be used against Marcus. She wouldn't be the reason he compromised everything. Boss wants us to deliver a message. Another voice said Ba can have her back if he hands over his Miami operations. All of them. He won't agree. Then she dies. Either way, we win. Time crawled. 15 minutes. The men outside grew restless, confident. Then she heard it. New sound screaming gunfire. So much gunfire it sounded like a war zone. And beneath it all, a voice roaring in Korean. Marcus's voice. What followed was the sound of absolute violence. No mercy, no hesitation. Then silence. Jasmine. Marcus's voice ragged. Open the door. It's safe. She punched in the code with shaking fingers. The door unsealed. Marcus stood in the bedroom doorway, clothes torn, blood on his hands and face, though she couldn't tell if it was his or someone else's. His eyes were wild until they landed on her. Then something in him broke. He crossed the space in 2 strides, pulling her into his arms. His whole body was trembling. I thought I'd lost you, he whispered against her hair. When I got your call, I thought I'm okay. I'm safe because you were smart. Because you locked yourself in. He pulled back, hands framing her face. This is my fault. All of it. You were right. Leaving you here was stupid. You couldn't have known. I should have known. Ryan Sato is escalating. He's willing to break every code we have to get to me. Marcus's jaw clenched. This ends now, tonight. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the start. End this permanently. Marcus, if you kill him, I'm not asking for permission. His voice was cold. He came after you. That crosses a line that can't be uncrossed. I know, but I need you to promise me something. Don't lose yourself in revenge. Don't become the monster your father taught you to be. She touched his face. Come back to me. The real you. Something in his expression softened. I don't know if I can separate the two anymore. Then I'll help you remember. He kissed her then, fierce and claiming. When he pulled back, his eyes burned with intensity. I love you. He said just that. No qualifications, no explanations. I love you too. Then trust me. This ends tonight, but I'll come back to you. He left with his entire security force. Jasmine watched from the window as they disappeared into the Miami night. A small army going to war. She should have been terrified. Should have been running. Instead, she waited because she'd meant what she said. She loved him. All of him, the dangerous parts and the gentle ones, the boss and the man. And she would be here when he returned. Hours later, just before dawn, Marcus came back, exhausted, battered, but alive. It's done, he said simply. Ryan Sato's dead. His organization is scattered. The threat is over. Jasmine didn't ask for details. Didn't need them. She just opened her arms, and he came to her like a man finding sanctuary after a lifetime of war. I'm tired, he whispered. So tired of the violence, the blood. Then rest. I've got you. They lay together as the sun rose over Miami, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Two people from completely different worlds, finding peace in each other. But even as she held him, Jasmine knew the truth. The danger would never fully disappear. There would always be another Ryan Sato, another threat. Loving Marcus meant accepting that their happiness would be carved out between moments of darkness. And somehow that was okay because for the first time in years, neither of them was alone. The aftermath of Ryan Sato's death rippled through the Korean Mafia's American operations. Territory disputes, power vacuums, ambitious men seeing opportunity. Marcus handled it all with ruthless efficiency. But something had changed in him. Jasmine saw it in the way he held her at night, like she might disappear. In how he started delegating more, spending less time in the field and more time planning, strategizing. He was still dangerous, still powerful, but he was also learning to be something else. Come with me, he said one evening, 3 weeks after the final confrontation with Ryan Sato. There's something I want to show you. He drove them to a neighborhood in Coral Gables, pulling up in front of a beautiful Mediterranean-style house. Cream walls, terracotta roof, a garden that promised privacy and peace. What is this? Jasmine asked. If you want it, he turned to face her. I bought it last week. No one in my organization knows about it. No ties to the business, just a home. Her breath caught. Marcus, I know what I'm asking. For you to fully commit to this life to me. His hand found hers. I can't promise safety. Can't promise normal. But I can promise that every day I will choose you. Choose us. You're serious. I've never been more serious about anything. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box. Jasmine Washington, will you marry me? The ring was beautiful, simple, elegant, with a single diamond that caught the sunlight. But it was the look in his eyes that made her heart soar, vulnerable, hopeful, completely open. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that felt like a promise. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were smiling. My mother will be thrilled, Marcus said. She's already planning the wedding. Your mother knows. I told her last week. She said, and I quote, about time you found someone who makes you act like a human instead of a machine. He laughed. She likes you a lot. I like her too. They toured the house together. Marcus pointing out features he thought she'd enjoy. A kitchen with modern appliances, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a master bedroom with windows overlooking the garden. I want this to be your space, he said. Our space, separate from the business, a place where we can just be us. No guards, no security. Oh, there will definitely be security. I'm not that reformed, but discreet, invisible. This house is about giving you some normally, some peace. Jasmine wrapped her arms around him. I don't need normal. I just need you. Have me. All of me. He hesitated. There's something else I need to tell you. I'm restructuring the organization. Stepping back from day-to-day operations. I'll still be in charge, but I'm delegating more. Training successors. Because I want a life with you. Not just stolen moments between crises. His voice was firm. I've spent my entire existence building power, maintaining control. But what's the point if I have no one to share it with? No future beyond the next threat. Your people might see that as weakness. Let them. Anyone who challenges me will learn quickly that stepping back doesn't mean going soft. His eyes hardened briefly. But I'm also smart enough to know that this life, constant violence, constant danger, has an expiration date. I want to reach mine with you beside me, not die alone in some pointless territorial dispute. Jasmine saw the truth in his words. He'd thought about this. Really thought about it. What about your father's legacy? My father died alone, surrounded by people who feared him, but no one who loved him. Marcus's voice was quiet. That's not the legacy I want. To build something different with you. 2 months later, they married in a private ceremony. Mrs. Chun cried through the entire event. Marcus's most trusted associates attended, sworn to secrecy. Jasmine's best friend, Tanya, was there, stunned into silence by the whole situation. Girl, Tanya whispered during the reception. You really went from cleaning buildings to marrying a mafia boss. This is like a movie. It feels like a movie sometimes, Jasmine admitted. You happy though? Really happy. Jasmine looked across the room to where Marcus stood with his mother, his expression softer than she'd ever seen it. He caught her eye and smiled, that private smile reserved only for her. Yeah, she said. I really am. The honeymoon was a week in a private villa in the Florida Keys. No business, no guards hovering, just them, the ocean, and time to simply exist together. I could get used to this, Marcus said one evening as they watched the sunset from the beach. Retirement doesn't suit you. Semi-retirement, he corrected. I'm still running things, just with better priorities. Like what? Like making sure my wife is happy. Making sure we have a future that's about more than just surviving. He pulled her closer. I want kids someday. Want to give them what I never had. A father who's actually present. Who shows them that strength doesn't mean emotional absence. Jasmine's heart swelled. You'd be a good father. I hope so, because I'm terrified of screwing it up. Then we'll figure it out together. Like everything else. They returned to Miami in their new life. Jasmine started taking business classes, learning the legitimate side of Marcus's empire. She had a mind for strategy, and Marcus valued her input on everything from real estate investments to personnel decisions. You're better at reading people than half my advisors, he told her one day after a meeting. You see things they miss. That's because I spent years being invisible, watching, learning. You're not invisible anymore. No, she agreed. But I remember what it was like. That gives me perspective they'll never have. 6 months into their marriage, trouble arose again, not from external enemies, but internal politics. Some of Marcus's older associates bristled at his reduced presence, whispered that marriage had made him soft, weak. The whispers reached Marcus through his network of informants. He called a meeting of all his lieutenants and captains. Jasmine attended, standing beside him at the head of the table. I've heard the concerns, Marcus said, his voice carrying absolute authority. Some of you think I've changed, become less effective, less dangerous. The men shifted uncomfortably. No one wanted to openly challenge him. You're right. I have changed. He looked at each of them in turn. I've learned that power without purpose is empty. That ruling through fear alone creates enemies where you could have allies. With respect, sir, one of the older men said carefully. Your father. My father died at 53. Alone, betrayed by someone close to him. Marcus's voice was cold. Is that the legacy you want? Because I'm building something different. An organization that doesn't require constant bloodshed to maintain. One that can actually grow instead of just defending territory. He gestured to financial reports on the table. Since restructuring, our legitimate business profits are up 40%. We've expanded into 3 new markets, and we've done it without the constant warfare that bled money and people. The numbers spoke for themselves. Even the doubters couldn't argue with results. This woman, Marcus continued, his hand finding Jasmine's, is my wife, my partner. Anyone who disrespects her disrespects me. Anyone who sees her as a weakness will discover their mistake permanently. The threat was clear. The men bowed their heads in acknowledgement. After the meeting, alone in their office, Jasmine touched his arm. Thank you for standing up for me. Always. He pulled her close. You're not a weakness. You're my strength. The reason I'm building something better. Some of them still don't understand. They will, or they'll leave. Either way, I'm not apologizing for choosing happiness over endless violence. As the year progressed, the organization stabilized under Marcus's new leadership style. Some of the old guard left, unwilling to adapt, but younger members rose to fill those gaps, bringing fresh ideas and less attachment to the brutal methods of the past. Marcus still made hard decisions, still handled threats when necessary, but he did it strategically with minimal collateral damage. And every night he came home to Jasmine, to their house, to the life they were building together. One evening, as they sat in their garden watching fireflies dance in the twilight, Jasmine said, "Do you ever regret it choosing this path?" "Which path? The organization or you?" "Both, I guess." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I don't regret the organization. It's part of who I am, my father's legacy, but also my own." He turned to face her. "But meeting you, choosing you, that's the only decision I've ever made that I know without question was absolutely right. Even with all the complications, especially with them, because you didn't just accept me as I was. You challenged me to be better, to want more than just power and fear. You did that yourself. No, you showed me it was possible. There's a difference." Jasmine leaned against him, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Too, more than I thought I could love anything." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Two people who shouldn't have worked, but did, who found in each other exactly what they'd been missing without knowing it. Months turned into a year, then two. Their life together deepened, became richer. Marcus continued transforming the organization, building alliances instead of just controlling territory. Jasmine became known in the community for her charity work, using resources to help people like her former self. People struggling, invisible, needing just one opportunity. They traveled, built memories, fought occasionally, fierce arguments that ended in fiercer reconciliations, learned each other's rhythms and needs, and through it all their love grew. Not the explosive passion of those early days, but something deeper, more enduring. One night, 3 years after they met, Jasmine stood on the terrace of their home looking out at the Miami skyline. Marcus appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How different my life is now. 3 years ago, I was cleaning buildings, struggling to pay rent. Now I'm here with you." "Regrets?" "Not one." She turned in his arms. "But I do wonder sometimes. What if Vincent Park had never invited me to that gala? What if you'd never really seen me? I think I would have eventually. You're impossible not to see. But I'm glad it happened when it did. Glad I didn't waste more time being alone when I could have been with you." "Me too. There's something I want to tell you," Marcus said, his tone shifting. "I've been thinking about completely legitimizing the organization. Taking the next 5 years to transition everything to legal operations." Jasmine's eyes widened. "Really? I've made enough money, built enough power, and I want—" He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I want our children to have a father they can be proud of. A legacy that's about more than just survival. Our children." Her heart raced. "If you want them with me, I do. I really do." He kissed her then, soft and sweet. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. 5 years, he said. "That's my timeline to build something clean, something that won't require them to choose between loving me and respecting me. They'll love and respect you regardless because I do. You see the best in me. I see all of you, the best and the rest, and I love all of it." Later that night, as they lay in bed, Jasmine thought about how far they'd both come. From that moment in the ballroom when everyone was speechless to this, a life built on trust, respect, and love that refused to be defined by circumstances. Marcus had been right that first night. Once he cared, there was no going back. The danger hadn't disappeared. Probably never would completely, but they faced it together, and that made all the difference. "Jasmine," his voice was sleepy. "Yeah, thank you for what? For walking into that gala. For not running when you learned who I was. For choosing me despite everything." He pulled her closer. "For being exactly who you are. Thank you for seeing me. Really seeing me always. I'll always see you." And as Jasmine drifted off to sleep in his arms, she knew it was true. They'd both been invisible in their own ways, her to society, in behind his armor of power and control, but they saw each other clearly now. And that clarity, that connection was worth every risk they'd taken to find it. Years passed, seasons changed, and Miami's skyline evolved. The Bay organization transformed from a shadow empire into a network of legitimate businesses, real estate, technology investments, import-export companies that actually did what they claimed. Marcus kept his promise. 5 years of careful transition, strategic exits from illegal operations, and building relationships with people who didn't fear him, but respected him. Jasmine stood on the balcony of their home, watching their daughter play in the garden. 4 years old, with her father's sharp eyes and her mother's radiant smile. They'd named her Emma, wisdom and goodness, a name that represented everything they hoped she would embody. "Mommy, look." Emma held up a butterfly that had landed on her finger. "It likes me." "It does, baby. You're very gentle." Marcus emerged from the house, loosening his tie. He'd spent the day at a board meeting for one of their technology startups. Completely legal. Completely boring, he joked that morning. But Jasmine saw the satisfaction in his eyes. The peace. "How was your day?" she asked as he joined her. "Profitable, tedious, but good." He watched their daughter. "She's getting big. She takes after you, stubborn and brilliant. Takes after you, kind and brave." He pulled Jasmine close. "We did good. We did." Emma ran over, demanding her father's attention with the imperious tone of a beloved child. Marcus scooped her up and Jasmine's heart swelled watching them together. He was the father he'd promised to be. Present, affectionate, teaching their daughter strength without cruelty. "I have news," Jasmine said later after they'd put Emma to bed. "The community center opened today. The one we funded in Little Haiti." "How was it?" "Beautiful. Full kids everywhere. Parents crying because they finally have a safe place for their children." She smiled. "Your money did that." "Our money. You're the one who made it happen. Still feels surreal sometimes that we can help people like that. That's why we did this." Marcus pulled her onto his lap. "Building something that helps instead of hurts. Your father would be proud. Maybe, or he'd think I'd gone soft." Marcus shrugged. "Either way, I chose this path, and I don't regret it." "Do you miss it? The old life?" He considered the question seriously. "Sometimes I miss the simplicity, the clear lines between friend and enemy, but I don't miss the violence, the constant looking over my shoulder, the loneliness." He cooped her face. "This is better. You are better. We're better." She corrected. "Yes, we are." Mrs. Chun visited the next day, bringing food and gifts for Emma. She'd aged gracefully, her hair now fully silver, but her eyes still sharp. "My son looks happy," she said to Jasmine, while Marcus played with Emma in the next room. "Truly happy. I never thought I'd see that. He works hard at it. You both do. That's why it works." Mrs. Chin smiled. "You know, when you first walked into that gala, I saw it immediately." "Saw what?" "That you would change everything. That my son's carefully controlled world was about to be turned upside down." She touched Jasmine's hand. "I'm grateful it was you. Someone with the strength to love him without losing yourself. He makes it easy." "No, dear. You make it look easy." That evening, after Mrs. Chun left, and Emma was asleep, Jasmine and Marcus sat in their garden, the same spot where they'd had so many important conversations over the years. "I've been thinking," Marcus said, "about writing everything down, my experiences, the transition from crime to legitimacy, not for publication, but for Emma, so she understands where we came from." "That's a good idea. I want her to know the truth. That I wasn't always a good man. That I made choices I'm not proud of. But also that people can change. That love can transform even the most damaged parts of us." "You weren't damaged. You were surviving." "Same thing sometimes." He was quiet for a moment. "Do you ever think about that night at the gala all the time? Everyone was speechless when you walked in, but I was speechless for a different reason." He turned to face her. "I saw you. Really saw you. And I knew my life would never be the same. That you would either destroy me or save me. And which did I do? You destroyed the person I was pretending to be. And you saved the person I actually am." Jasmine leaned against him, breathing in his familiar scent. "We saved each other." "Yeah, we did." They sat together as the stars emerged, the Miami night warm and welcoming. Somewhere in the house, their daughter slept peacefully, safe and loved. Around them a life they'd built together. Messy, complicated, but undeniably theirs. Jasmine thought back to that woman who'd walked into an elegant ballroom 3 years ago, terrified and uncertain, but refusing to show it. That woman who'd been invisible for so long, she'd almost forgotten she deserved to be seen. And she thought about the man who'd looked past his own armor long enough to actually see her. who chosen to be vulnerable when vulnerability was dangerous, who transformed his entire world for the chance at something real. I love you, she whispered. I love you, too, Marcus replied. Thank you for what? For walking into that ballroom. For being brave when it would have been easier to run. For choosing us every single day. It's not a hard choice. It should have been. I gave you every reason to leave, and I gave you every reason to let me go. But here we are, he echoed. And as they sat beneath the stars, two people from completely different worlds who'd found their way to each other against all odds, they both understood the truth. Sometimes the most important moment of your life comes when you least expect it. When you walk into a room full of people who don't see you and find the one person who does. When you're speechless, not because someone is beautiful, but because they're real, genuine, exactly what you've been searching for without knowing it. And when you choose to be brave enough to reach for that connection, despite the danger, despite the differences, despite every logical reason to walk away, that's when life truly begins. Jasmine and Marcus. It had all started with a cruel joke and a room full of speechless strangers, and it had transformed into a love story neither of them could have imagined, but both of them deserved.